Macho Man Randy Savage, come on in. A lot of things happening in your life. And I wonder if we could
Let's
talk...
not go through everything now, Mean.
Oh, we talk about everything on this program, believe you me.
Everything, huh? Put me on the spot right here. This is your life, Macho Man Randy Savage. Yeah, just take it easy, yeah. And possibly I'll do the same, yeah, in return, yeah. To everyone, yeah, the people that are coming against the Macho Man Randy Savage for whatever reason. Greed, yeah, reputation, yeah, I've got the reputation and people sometimes want to cut me down. But that's not going to happen, not without a fight.
You know, Macho Man, just a week or 10 days ago, I happened to run into you and your manager, Elizabeth, in the airport at O'Hare International in Chicago. And in talking with Elizabeth,
I don't
her and I...
remember running into you in the airport right there.
I think you might have been up at the newsstand. But anyway, I was talking to Elizabeth, and we concur on one thing, that Macho Man, over the past few months, you have acquired something new. It's kind of an intentional...
Like
spunk. Spunk, that would be it.
Spunk!
Exactly.
That's it right there. Elizabeth said that too right there, huh?
She did.
Yeah, I think I have. I think I've become more spunky type of thing. Yeah, I think that I got a little bit more spunk than probably I used to have. In fact, all-time record high, big-time jubilee. The harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. When the going gets tough, the tough gets going. I think I'm more spunky than I used to be. A lot of people say do something, yeah. Even if it's wrong or even if it's right, but stay.
And welcome back to Retro Wrestling Games Presents. I'm your host, Lex G, and with me, as always, is Matt Riley. How you doing tonight, Matt?
Oh, I'm not going to pay taxes ever again.
You've lost that much money?
I have.
Okay.
On video games.
I don't think you can write that off as a business expense. I think I can.
That's an outrage.
I think I can now.
That's an outrage.
Let's see. So guys, today's episode will be WWF Super WrestleMania for the Super Nintendo / Super Famicom, because once again I am using the Japanese version because it's cheaper. Clone of the English version or the American version, it's even in English, which is strange. So I don't know how the Japanese people who played this game actually were able to play it, because it's all in English. But bless them. So, WWF Super WrestleMania was released in 1992 for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System and the Sega Genesis. This was the first of this is the first of 4 games released using this engine. The other games being WWF Royal Rumble, WWF Rage in the Cage, and WWF Raw. Now this game uses a tug-of-war grappling system. When you initiate a grapple, you button mash until you get your meter over to one side, then you pull off a maneuver. So unfortunately in this game, all the wrestlers share the same exact set of moves. So you have scoop slams, suplexes, drop kicks, clothesline, hip tosses, and elbow drops. The big difference for the Genesis version, other than the roster, is that they can do signature moves for every wrestler that can be done at any time, which is weird and slightly off-putting. So gameplay modes include one-on-one, tag team, and a 4-on-4 Survivor Series elimination match. The Sega Genesis version does contain a championship mode where you can select a wrestler and defeat all the other wrestlers in the game, and you'll be crowned WWF Champion. The Super Nintendo version does not contain signature moves like we stated before, but the roster is larger. It has 10 wrestlers compared to the 8 wrestlers on the Genesis version. The wrestlers shared between both versions include Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, and Ted DiBiase. Wrestlers exclusive to the Super NES version are Jake Roberts, The Undertaker, and Sid Justice, the Legion of Doom, and the Natural Disasters. Wrestlers to the Genesis version are Papa Shango, The Ultimate Warrior, IRS, Irwin R. Shyster, the British Bulldog, and Shawn Michaels. He's a sexy boy, apparently.
He is, yes.
So, I actually owned this game as a kid. When I was a kid, I had about 8 Super Nintendo games, this being one of them. I think the other ones were Final Fight, Street Fighter 2, NBA Jam, Contra 3, Alien Wars, Super Empire Strikes Back. I'm trying to remember the other ones, but they don't come to mind at this moment. But those are the games that I had as a kid. And it's funny because now that I have just about every single console for the exception of a TurboGrafx 16 at this point. And people like, I buy them because I want to play wrestling games on them. And some of the systems only have 3 or 4 wrestling games. And they're like, hey, why are you buying a console if you only play 4 games on it? Like when I was a kid, I didn't, when I had a Nintendo, I only had like 5 games in total. The entire time. I went to the Blockbuster Video every weekend and rented games. My dad was going to shell out $40-$50 for a video game. So, Matt, I know I sent you over a clip of this game. What are your thoughts overall on this?
Well, I think, as a player, you kind of like the idea that certain wrestlers have certain moves only.
Yeah.
And I think that's it's like a lazy thing in the system. Like, for like, whatever, they all just say moves fine. But if, like, Hulk Hogan goes for a moonsault or Stinger Splash, you're like, what? Or super kick. Just no.
People do that now with we can edit an entrance. So they have like Brock Lesnar come down as a diva. That'd be hilarious.
Yes.
But unfortunately, in this game, you can't do that stuff. Again, the options are very limited. Again, there's other games at the time that had more options. But for a first attempt on a 16-bit console, definitely a valiant effort. Although it didn't connect with everything that we want to see in a wrestling game. They were taking steps in the right direction. I don't have to remind you how awful those Nintendo wrestling games were. You had WrestleMania, Steel Cage Challenge, King of the Ring, WrestleMania Challenge. Those games were god awful. Good one in a lot. This one is so more vastly superior than those games. It's actually it's quite alarming. How good. These games are colorful. The colors are not muted. Your wrestlers have weight to them, so when you hit the ropes, you really feel like you're hitting the ropes with these guys. So super impressed there. Now the lack of finishing holds, are definitely an issue. An issue that will be corrected on the very next game, Royal Rumble. So they do have finishing holds, and what have you. The roster is really interesting. Any game with Sid Justice in it, it's going to be. We'll get an automatic thumbs up from me.
Sid Justice,
because he's ridiculous. God bless his heart.
You play softball as his finisher?
Yeah, he should. They should have pegged him with softballs at one point. That'd been awesome. So again, guys, Super WrestleMania, I would use the word vanilla. It was very vanilla. Again, not a whole lot going on. Just a great first step, and what would be 4 really solid wrestling games for the NES. The NES was where wrestling games started to get their footing in terms of home consoles, and they've been on the uprise, so to speak, ever since. So the games have been getting better and better, for other than a few notable exceptions to that. Looking at UTNA. Sorry. So what I want to talk about, in addition to WWF Super WrestleMania, was WrestleMania in general, and more particularly WrestleMania 1. Now, WrestleMania 1 was the one that started it all, just like Super WrestleMania for the NES.
Yes.
Matt, do you have any memories of WrestleMania 1 and kind of the build-up on to that?
I remember WrestleMania 1 very vaguely. What I remember was the whole closed circuit thing, and I was like, where can I go to see this? And I couldn't go to see it. So I was like, yeah. There
wasn't a local movie theater that was running it?
No, it was I think a bar had it in Boston, like Good Time, someplace, some dump around here somewhere, was showing it. But it was like, oh man, I was so excited. And then, I remember thinking, I look back now and it's like, oh, it could have been, a turning point in my life, like Mick Foley going to see the live, match.
Because that Executioner Tito Santana match is a turning point.
I'm just saying, Executioner was a highly underrated performer.
Buddy Rose, by the way.
Was it?
Yeah.
I'm looking at the card. Jeez, Buddy Rose. Buddy Rose, underrated. But I remember thinking that even the Body Slam Challenge. I know this was like 1984 or whatever it was. 85. But $15,000 seemed pretty cheap to me.
When Andre stole the money too, and then the coolest part about it is Andre had the money in the bag, and then Bobby Heenan comes in and steals the bag and runs away.
Yes,
that was great. But the thing about WrestleMania 1, I don't think it's that good. Now I know it's the one that, and I know it's blasphemy to say that, but I don't think it's that good at all. And I'm not talking about of all time. I'm talking about of that time. You want to look at If you want to compare it to Starrcade 84 or Starrcade 85, you want to even compare it to the War to Settle the Score or the Brawl That Ended All. Those two shows, there were better shows. Now, we'll quickly go over the card for WrestleMania 1, and you'll see what I mean when we go through it. So up first, we have Tito Santana, who defeated the Executioner. Like I said, that was Playboy Buddy Rose via submission at 4 minutes, 50 seconds. You had King Kong Bundy, who beat Special Delivery Jones.
Hey!
It was a fantastic jobber in 24 seconds.
Oh.
You had Ricky Steamboat defeated Matt Bourne. Matt Bourne went on to be Doink the Clown, by the way, folks, since we have clown issues currently in the United States. It looks like.
Yes.
So hold on,
Matt Bourne's behind it. Well, he's dead, I think, but he wasn't dead.
He's still behind it. You had David Sammartino versus Brutus Beefcake. That ended in a double DQ. Now I can just tell you about the first 4 matches. Right, we'll stop right there. All shit.
Yeah.
Even for the time, all shit. So next up, more importantly, we have the Junkyard Dog versus Greg Valentine for the Intercontinental Championship. Junkyard Dog wins by countout.
He had to grab them in cakes.
Well, what happened was that Greg Valentine rolled up Junkyard Dog and put his feet on the ropes. 1, 2, 3, and then the ref reversed the decision because Tito came out and kicked the ropes and was mad. And so they restarted the match. I believe that's how it went. And then I think Greg Valentine just fucking left. So,
Greg Valentine with the best promo ever for white power people. With his it was Boston Garden where he called Junkyard Dog a dirty black person. And it was like, you ever seen that? It was just a phenomenal.
Yeah,
like, oh my! Mean Gene's face is like, what the fuck did you just say? But you know,
insulting because I don't consider JYD dirty. He didn't look smelly or nothing.
I mean, he sleeps with unclean women. That's his choice.
Bless his heart. Who hasn't?
He wanted to grab them cakes. I'm just saying. You know.
So next up, we have Clive Volkov and the Iron Sheik, who defeated the U.S. Express of Mike Rotundo and Barry Windham for the belts. They took the belts off of Windham and Rotundo and put them on Volkov and the Sheik. In 6 minutes, 56 seconds. That's awesome. Next up, we have Andre the Giant, who defeated Big John Studd in the $15,000 Body Slam Challenge. 5 minutes, 54 seconds.
Good for that.
Yeah. Wendy Richter with Cyndi Lauper defeated Leilani Kai with the Fabulous Moolah for the Women's Championship in 6 minutes, 12 seconds. That match wasn't bad. That match was pretty good. And then in the main event, you have Hulk Hogan. And it's funny here because on Wikipedia, I'm looking it up. No mention of Mr. T. So on Wikipedia, it says Hulk Hogan with Jimmy Snuka defeated Roddy Piper and Paul Orndorff with Bob Orton. I wonder if Hogan took Mr. T out to one with the credit for beating 2 guys.
I will say this. I mean, looking at this card, and it reminds me of one of the fundamental problems with the WWE, WWF over the years, is that when I watched NWA, their feuds were based on personal differences.
Yeah.
Where almost all WWE feuds are always based around some ridiculous, like, $15,000 challenge match. You know, it wasn't like the same visceral hatred.
Yeah, I mean, the only feud they had 2 feuds going in. Technically, they had the Lauper and Wendy Richter and the Moolah with Leilani Kai. And then they had the Hogan and Mr. T versus Roddy Piper and Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff. He is wonderful, and I am wonderful too. But you want to compare? Let's compare here. Now, Starrcade 84. We'll do 84 and 85 because it's in between. Starrcade 84 has 11 matches. So you have Denny Brown defeated Mike Davis for the World Junior Heavyweight Championship. You have Brian Diaz defeated Mr. Ito. You had Jesse Barr defeated Mike Graham for the Florida Championship. That was a good match, by the way, Jesse Barr and Mike Graham. The Assassins and Buzz Tyler defeated the Zambui Express, Elijah Akeem and Kareem Mohammed with Paul Jones, and it was a tag team elimination match. I believe the real show actually starts there. I could be wrong. At least my copy started there. But I did see the Jesse Barr Mike Graham match. Manny Fernandez defeated Black Bart for the NWA Brass Knuckles Championship. Paul Jones defeated Jimmy Valiant in a tuxedo street fight. Loser leaves town match. Ron Bass with J.J. Dillon defeated Dick Slater by disqualification. Ivan Nikita Koloff defeated Ole Anderson and Keith Larson with Don Cornudle. I believe there's supposed to be Don Cornudle in that match, but he got hurt.
Oh, Don Cornudle.
He's awesome. Tully Blanchard defeated Ricky Steamboat. I'll go on a limb here. I'll say the Tully Blanchard-Ricky Steamboat match was better than anything on the WrestleMania 1 card.
Yes.
It was for the TV championship and $10,000.
Well, yeah.
Then you had Wahoo McDaniel defeated Billy Graham for the United States. Wahoo McDaniel, who was a champion at the time, defeated Billy Graham in the NWA United States Championship match.
Was that the year that when Flair beat Rhodes, that match? Was that when Dusty passed out?
Yeah. So the main event, Ric Flair defeated Dusty Rhodes by knockout. Singles match for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, $1 million. Special guest referee Joe Frazier. Judges were Duke Kiyomuka and Kyle Petty. If the match reached time limit, Kyle, Kiyomuka, and Petty would score the match, determining winner by vote. You can see already that the Starrcade card, I think, is vastly superior to the WrestleMania 1 card, and then we'll go look at Starrcade 85.
Yeah.
Now, Starrcade 85 had Crusher Khrushchev defeating Sam Houston for the Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Championship. Ron Bass defeated Black Bart in a Texas Bull Rope match. And then they had, a stip that if Ron Bass wins, he gets 5 minutes with J.J. Dillon, which he did. Buddy Landel defeated Terry Taylor for the National Heavyweight Championship. Magnum TA defeated Tully Blanchard in the I Quit Steel Cage match for the United States Championship. Again, that match is better than anything on WrestleMania. The Rock and Roll Express defeated Ivan and Nikita Koloff, the champions, for the World Tag Team Championship. And that was at Greensboro. And then from the Omni, you had Manny Fernandez defeated Abdul the Butcher in the Mexican Death Match. Billy Graham defeated the Barbarian via disqualification in their arm wrestling match. That led into a regular match, which Billy Graham defeated the Barbarian by disqualification. Then you had the Minnesota Wrecking Crew, Ole and Arn Anderson, champions, who defeated Wahoo McDaniel and Billy Jack Haynes, and that was for the National Tag Team Championship. Jimmy Valiant and Miss Atlanta Lively with Big Mama defeated the Midnight Express with Jim Cornette in an Atlanta street fight. And in the main event, Dusty Rhodes defeated Ric Flair, but that decision was overturned later on.
Wasn't it? I forgot.
Yeah, he didn't have the belt. He got overturned. It was reversed by Tommy Young.
Tommy Young.
Getting some heat.
I remember Big Mama. I remember as a kid, the video for that, like that Starrcade.
Yeah.
You know, and they would show the clips of and they'd show Big Mama walking to the ring. I was just like, I need to marry her.
She had the total package.
She did.
Now let's quickly look at the two WWF moves, the war to settle the score. Actually, let's do the brawl to end it all.
Just in case you're wondering, you can also find the Big Mama shoot interview on YouTube.
Well, that was worth it.
I'll have to watch tomorrow. It's just like Herb Ebner, the shoot interview, full of blood.
All right, so the brawl to end it all, which was a WWE event that was broadcasted on MTV. Again, this would be the first of the Rock and Wrestling connection. And they had Sika, who defeated Ron Shaw. Iron Sheik defeated Tony Garea. Tito Santana wrestled Bob Orton to draw an Intercontinental Championship match. You had Bob Backlund defeating Paul Vachon via submission. Hulk Hogan defeated Greg Valentine, and that was for the WWF Championship. Antonio Inoki defeated Charlie Fulton for the WWF World Martial Arts Heavyweight Championship. Adonis and Murdoch defeated Sergeant Slaughter and Terry Daniels, and that was for the Tag Team Championship. Wendy Richter defeated Fabulous Moolah. She was the champion at the time for the Women's Championship. Paula Orndorff defeated Chief Jay Strongbow. Afa defeated Renee Goulet, and then Inoki won a 20-man over-the-top Battle Royal. So I think that card is actually slightly better than the WrestleMania 1 card. Not by much, though. But, you know, there's like, what, 2 jobber matches on this? You had the Ron Shaw and Tony Garea.
Yeah.
Maybe the Charlie Fulton match with Inoki. But you had fucking Inoki on the card. Jesus. I would love to have Inoki interact with Ali in some way. That'd been sweet. The last one we'll do is the War to Settle the Score. The War for Settle the Score is notable because it has Hulk Hogan versus Roddy Piper on it.
Wow.
So the War to Settle the Score has Johnny Ryan defeating Jose Luis Rivera. Hillbilly Jim defeated Rene Goulet. Don Morocco versus Salvador Balomo. Don Morocco defeated Salvador Balomo. Moondog Spot wrestled Rick McGraw. David Sammartino defeated Moondog's Rex. Nikolai Volkov defeated Sweet Hansen.
Oh my God, Sweet Hansen.
Leilani Kai defeated Wendy Richter for the Women's Championship. The U.S. Express, Barry Windham and Mike Rotundo. The Champions defeated The Spoiler and The Assassin. Paul Orndorff defeated Tony Atlas. Jimmy Snuka defeated Bob Orton. And Hulk Hogan with Cyndi Lauper, David Wolf, and Lou Albano defeated Roddy Piper with Bob Orton by disqualification. And that's when Mr. T came out, and there was the setup for WrestleMania 1. The setup event was maybe slightly better than WrestleMania 1 itself. So it's very interesting how they did that. And it's weird now to see like jobber matches or junkie guy matches or wimpy matches, if you want to be a jerk about it, on WrestleMania. Imagine seeing like Braun Strowman defeat some like local guy to start off WrestleMania. That'd be kind of off-putting, I think. But what are you gonna do? Now I know before you guys jump down my throats, I know both the brawl that ended all, War to Settle the Score, wasn't completely shown on MTV. I think for the brawl that ended all, it was only the last two matches, and the War for Settle the Score was only the last two matches too. No, I think the only match they saw on that was Hulk Hogan versus Piper on MTV. Now, if you lived in New York like I did, you saw the entire card on the Madison Square Garden network. So there you go. So stick that in your pipe and smoke it. All right, so WWF Super WrestleMania, again, it was the beginning of something I think they were doing that was going to go really well. I think the next 3 games proved that this engine was worthwhile, and they went on to make pretty good games. Again, the games following WWF WrestleMania, you had the Royal Rumble, Rage in the Cage, and WWF Raw, which Raw probably being the best out of the lot in terms of games. But we'll get to that at some point once I purchase it. But I think overall, again, it's not a must-have game. But if you are a wrestling fan, just to see the interesting roster they have on it, like Jake Roberts and the Natural Disasters and the Legion of Doom on it. And it's definitely an interesting time in WWF. And if you're a big WWF fan in the early 90s, I say pick it up, give it a try. But keep in mind, it's very vanilla. So not a whole lot to do once you literally went through all the teams in terms of the Survivor Series. So that's what I did. I used to just cycle through teams and it'd be like Hulk Hogan. And it'd be Hulk Hogan, Jake the Snake Roberts, and the Natural Disasters. So it got pretty ridiculous at times, but it's all good. So that's all the time we have for this episode. For Matt Riley, I'm Lex G, and have